Houston, Texas. The family YMCA, Dave Vinson alongside David Fink for this men's round of 8 match. Paul Brady and Daniel Cordova. Danny is the Cinderella story so far up to this point, but you know, really having one of the best tournaments of his lifetime. But he's going up against Paul Brady, so
#1 on the Race for 8 Pro Tour.
That's always tough
Playing out
to
of County
continue
Cavan,
on.
Ireland, Paul Brady.
You hear the announcement there from our referee, Paul Brady, coming from Cavan, County Cavan.
Retrieving serve, a qualifier in the tournament, playing out of Juarez, Mexico, Daniel Cordova.
And Danny Cordova coming from El Paso,
Best of
Texas,
luck,
now
gentlemen.
living in the
2 games of 15 possible, 3rd to 15.
Chicago, Illinois area.
0
Lake
play
Forest.
0.
A lot of buzz, like there always is, Dave, when Paul Brady's playing. This is his first time competing at this Race for 8 event in Houston. A lot of people saying, "Where's Brady? What court is Brady on?" You know, you don't hear that very often. Only for Paul Brady. And Daniel's got to shoot and make that shot. Paul Brady's not going to give you many of those opportunities. But Dave, you keep alluding to this Cinderella story, Daniel Cordova, as though he's come out of nowhere. But I contend, Dave, that he's on a slow and steady rise, starting from about 5 years ago. We saw him in the Collegiate National Finals at just 18 years old. And now here he is in his early 20s, and he's continued to improve and chip away at the top players. I believe last weekend he won his biggest ever tournament in Chicago, defeated a couple of really good players there, including Dave Munson in the finals, and he's just continuing to add to his game, and I think becoming physically stronger in the process.
0 plays 2.
He's certainly up against it here today.
Short ball.
You know, Dave, his brother drew Paul Brady yesterday in the first round, and you know, as an administrator of the tour, Dave, I almost just feel bad when I see guys pull that name out of the hat. You come all this way, and it's just as though you've run head first at full speed into a wall when you pull that name out of the. And it's an honor and a privilege to play Paul. But then again, you're also trying to do your best in advance and get your ranking points and have a chance. And it's just kind of like, well, might as well just
have fun.
Drive right through an intersection, get T-boned.
No, but it is interesting to see how everybody reacts to it. But the crowd always does the same thing. They never get behind the guy that pulls the name. They always make fun of him, you know. So we know one thing's consistent when you pull Paul Brady's name as a qualifier. You know what you're going to get. The oohs and ahs, but in a negative way.
It's almost like a funeral. It's like a oof.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, did you see that last shot from Paul?
I did.
That was probably the hardest hit ball I've seen in this tournament. That was a laser. Paul hits it 3 inches high off the front wall, and it still goes off the back wall somehow. And these are panel courts.
Thank you.
I mean, they're not the quickest.
3 plays 2. Short. Appeal.
That was short.
Yeah.
Both agree. Second serve.
I mean, it's hit so hard, Paul can't even see his own ball.
He seems to see pretty well because every time he fist pumps and appeals, it's short. Daniel has to shoot that, and you see what happens when you don't shoot. Paul Brady will shoot the next one. Daniel had a good opportunity there. The ball hung up at about 28 feet, which is an easy shot for a pro. I think easier sometimes, Dave, for a pro to kill the ball from 28 feet than from 15 feet.
Short ball. Second serve.
This is best 2 out of 3 to 15, win by 2. Breaker also 15. That's a familiar shot right there. Yeah. Cordova with that underhand paddle.
And that's the difference there, David. I don't know if we'll have time for an instant replay, but any other player hits that shot, it bounces into the sidewall. You have a chance to keep the rally alive. Paul's just sticks and grabs and rides down the wall, and you have no play. You see Nadia Alvarado do that a lot, and Luis Moreno, but Paul Brady seems to do it every time.
2 plays 5. Short ball.
Saw a round of applause. Actually heard that from the crowd after that shot from Danny Cordova in front of Paul.
Oh. Oh, no.
Paul was able to get to it. Is he going to look at the referee? And he's going to give a point to Danny Cordova, now 3-5.
Talking to Danny's brother, Luis, who played Paul yesterday, he said Every shot I hit, he gets to it. No matter how good a shot I hit, he's there. You know, his serves are amazing. And look at Danny now, Dave, hanging with the world's best.
4 plays 5. Short ball.
You call him the
Second
Cinderella
serve.
story. I call him the steady climber.
Nice get right there from Cordova. Paul's going to tee off on it, right back to where Cordova was standing, and
Side out.
somehow Danny can't even get his hand on it, really. I mean, Paul
5
has that
plays
knack
4.
of coming right back inside out. You know, you're streaming across to the middle of the court. Paul hits it right back to where you're standing.
6 plays 4.
Absolutely amazing serve.
Short ball. Second serve.
Paul's like that video game that you play that has a hard level every.
Oh, yeah.
And you get to that one at the very end that you can never conquer.
Yeah.
You just know what you're in for every time you get there. You try something new, and nothing
4
ever seems to
plays
work.
6.
Yeah. Yeah. See what you're saying.
It just.
You know, the old adage in sports is play within yourself, but when you play against Paul, you know that within yourself is not going to do any good. So now you're trying to play outside of yourself. That doesn't really work.
I've heard players say that they play just to score a point. I mean, they don't want to get embarrassed. But Danny,
yeah, he's
4
looking
points
really
is
good
great.
right now.
I mean,
well, he's also in these rallies. And we've seen this from Paul before, Dave. When he plays someone for the first time, it takes him a while before he really finds his groove. I know that a lot of players felt like they would do better against Paul when he started traveling here.
Ball is broke.
that ball sounded like it broke there, yeah.
Maybe want to fire that thing around a little bit.
Watching the WPH Race for 8 $200,000 professional handball tour, stopping in places like Southern California, Tucson, Arizona, New York, here in Houston, Texas, Salt Lake City, San Francisco. Touring the country, the game's very best players like Paul Brady and
all right, guy,
this
play
up-and-coming
resumes.
Danny Cordova.
Play over 4, play 6.
Wow.
Now that was a great left-handed shot. Even Paul said so. That was a nice shot there.
Short. Second serve.
You know how that has to hurt.
And see, Danny did not make much of a move to get out of the way. He took away that lane. You see a lot of guys against Paul Brady show so much respect. They go into the side wall to get out of the way. You know, Dave, it's interesting how handball works. Luis Cordova beats his brother easily, yet can't do anything against Paul Brady. He says he feels like a little kid in there. Here his younger brother is hanging with Paul Brady. Competitive.
6 plays 5.
No, you're talking about that blind draw when you pull Paul Brady's name and how the reaction is always the same. Well, it wasn't the same in Salt Lake City last year when Mondo purposely picked Paul Brady in the blind draw, the reverse blind draw.
Only other choice was Moreno.
Short ball.
But
he appeals. Agreed.
The crowd was different there. That vibe was different when he pulled Paul. That was sort of like he's in charge of wanting to do this, even though technically it was going to be what it was going to be anyway, probably. But that was a different environment.
Hold on, hinder ball.
That's a big error for Paul Brady there to not end the rally there. Huge setup.
2 serves. 7
Paul doesn't
plays
know that
5.
rule, Dave. He gets a first serve after a hinder.
I think Paul knows the rule. He wants to make sure that what he doesn't have confidence in the referee knowing the rule. And he's doing it in this nice way.
Great shot from Danny.
Oh, that's tough, too, because Danny could have reset his feet pretty easy there.
That's a Reynolds wrap. I mean, if you were with us in our last match, you know.
If you weren't, sorry.
Place 5.
Yeah, and if you weren't,
boo-hoo for you.
Yeah.
Paul goes for that crack, just barely misses it. Boy, he's automatic from there, too.
Point.
Now 9-5.
He knows all he has to do there is pinch the sidewall and make the ball bounce twice before it gets to the left sidewall, and he's won the rally. So he doesn't go for a flat rollout. He just hits it just low enough.
We've had 5 games, not counting this today on the live broadcast. And of those 5 games, there's been a 15-0, 15-1, and 15-2.
10 plays 5.
As an outcome.
Well, Dave, as you're making the schedules for following events, what you'll do is stagger the matches 10 minutes apart instead of leaving 40-minute gaps.
Paul, I'm going to take it over. I'm going to call second serve.
Be part of a weekly report.
He had a better look at it. Excuse me? No. Paul, we're going to take second serve.
Paul's serious about that comment.
Short
he
ball,
said one of the linesmen's friends with Danny Cordova, and that's why he's disagreeing with the ref.
Well, everybody at the tournament's related to Danny, so it's, in that sense, you wouldn't have any
I don't think it would matter if I was watching my dad and a linesman. I'm just going to call whatever I see. I mean, isn't that what you would do? I don't know that anyone's mind would say, well, no, I'm going to just.
I mean, Anthony's friends with Paul Brady, and he's the referee, right?
Yeah, I don't really understand.
10 plays 5.
It seems to have upset Paul.
I mean, Michael Gregan was the line judge at the Worlds in 2009 in Portland, and Paul didn't seem to care all those terrible missed calls on the called in his favor on the line. Wow, that's another great shot there from Paul Brady. In fact, I've never seen anybody make more missed calls as a line judge than Michael Gregan in that World Final.
What about the missed call by the referee on the injury timeout? I mean, you don't talk about that. You just care about those short balls that were
Canadian.
1 inch.
He's Canadian.
Okay, so he's neutrally terrible.
All that political talk right there. France surrendered.
Oh.
Yeah.
Five plays 12.
And this is what happens. Danny was in this game, and it's gotten away from him in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Second serve.
So did our broadcast.
Well, that's inevitable. Although I guess you can say the same about playing Paul Brady. It's inevitable before the game gets away from you.
Timeout, Paul. It's your first 1 minute. Paul will be serving 12 plays 5.
Paul Brady. Dave, 13 minutes into this quarterfinal match, which is our third quarterfinal match here of the day in Houston, leading 12-5 in game 1. I think if you're Danny Cordova, you have to feel pretty good about yourself, at least in the amount of time you've been able to spend on court.
Well, I'm sure he felt much better about himself when it was 5-6 instead of 5-12. But Paul can find a way to score, 6 unanswered points in a matter of 4 minutes. I mean, it's really been a very quick run that he's had here. He also closed out with about a waist-high kill shot from 36 feet back and immediately called a timeout. Paul did, so that's putting another dagger in that as well. Hit one of the best kill shots of the tournament and then calls a timeout.
Maybe he wanted to just soak it in.
More TV time?
Kind of like when you Cadillac it around the bases after hitting a 500-footer.
12 plays 5.
Well, they have drug testing now, so it's hard to do that.
So guys don't hit home runs anymore?
Not 500-footers often. Big setup for Paul Brady. Back wall goes for the right corner kill. Elite corner kill. Now, is it by design that Paul clips that right sidewall first?
Yes.
Short ball.
I mean, he's cranking that
Second
ball right in
serve.
there.
Yeah, he's not quite found his serve down the right yet. We've seen him hit some great serves down the left with the reverse. And there he goes again, knowing he needs to just make the ball bounce twice before the right side wall. He just did get that second bounce.
Possible game point, plays 5.
Oh my gosh, what a serve from
Point,
Paul.
game. 3 minutes.
We're going to take a quick break as well. Paul Brady takes game number 1, 15-5, and it really only took about 10 minutes to do so. We'll have more handball action right around the corner here in Houston, Texas, as game number 2 between Brady and Danny Cordova will come up in just a bit on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. For Dave Fink, Dave Vincent, we'll be back in just a bit. Stick with us.
Ahern Rentals is the largest independently owned and operated rental business in the United States. We are proud to maintain outstanding working relationships with over 100 manufacturers, including JLG, Skyjack, Genie, Kubota, Multiquip, Honda, and many more. From coast to coast, Ahern Rentals is here to service your equipment rental needs. For a complete list of locations near you, please visit us at www.ahern.com or call 1-800-400-1610.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's 1 every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? Leave risky driving to the professionals. Stop the texts, and together we can stop the wrecks.
The Tucson Racket Club is your home away from home. Join us for world-class tennis, handball, racquetball, and the new rage, pickleball. Or try one of our 160 weekly group exercise classes. Want to swim laps or play with your family in the pool? Enjoy our 2 junior Olympic-sized pools and wading pool that are open year-round. Then round out the perfect day with a delicious meal at our restaurant or sports bar. All at the Tucson Racket and Fitness Club, where Country Club Road ends and fitness begins.
Back in Houston, Texas, family YMCA, Danny Cordova and Paul Brady here for game number 2 as Brady defeated young Cordova 15-5. Dave Vincent alongside David Fink. Game number 2. Going to 15, you have to win by 2, but Danny, in most cases, not necessarily for Danny himself, but you just try to score 2 points against Paul Brady.
Yeah.
Winning by 2 is usually not an option. You're never going to get to that point. But Danny did hold his own for the first part of that first half, or the first quarter at least of that first game. When he had 5, Paul had 6, and then went on to 7 really quickly, and then continued on with just unanswered points until he got to 15.
Game is 2, 15 points.
In the broadcast booth, it's Dave Fink.
Paul, ready?
I know you don't like to
Game
talk
2.
until your
No.
name is
Play
officially
playoffs.
announced, even though you've been here.
There's a protocol.
The point.
Paul Brady would become the first person to take
One,
out
play 0.
2 brothers in the same tournament.
Short ball. Second serve.
I mean, in race play, you mean?
Yes.
I'm sure that
I don't talk about non-race.
I was thinking Alan Garner and Aaron might have been defeated by the same person, the same tournament.
Down.
Oh, I thought that was a little bit up, but no argument from Danny. But then again, you'll never hear an
0
argument from
plays
Danny.
1.
It was Aaron Garner, remember, Dave, in 2013 on this very court, losing to Nadi Alvarado Jr. in the semifinals, almost giving him a donut in the first game and then losing the match. Alan Garner lost to Charlie Shanks in the next match.
Point.
We've never had brothers play one another on the race tour.
Short ball.
Luckily for them, when we spit out those computer-generated qualifier draws,
Second serve.
the brothers have never been drawn into each other. And that could happen, Dave.
Well, I could see it happening.
I mean,
soon.
you spit number, you know, you throw those names into the computer based on the algorithms, and who knows what's going to happen. Just so happened in this event, we got some really great matchups, including that amazing Adam Bernhard-Dave Munson match.
3 plays 1. Short ball. Second serve.
Dave, as short as these first 3 matches have been, I think we can expect the exact opposite in our next match. Dave, do you get the feeling that Paul Brady just kind of in cruise control right now? Just, you know, not really opening up the engine. Just kind of has it at about 60, cruising on the old
Short ball.
freeway, highway.
I think Paul oftentimes has a lot more pressure than we think. He has to live up to the expectations of what people think he is. You know, Chapman would just, you know, play to the tempo that he wanted to play in, you know, sometimes. And you would see Chapman not go in there and try to beat somebody in 15 minutes. Paul's kind of has this reputation that he doesn't miss anything. He hits every shot that he never doesn't make hand errors, that sort of thing. And I wonder how that works either for him or against him at times. Because it seems like undue attention.
2 plays 4.
I know guys like Sean Lenning use it, you know, to their advantage. If he hears the crowd talking about how good somebody is, he says, well, I'm just going to shut up the crowd. You know, that makes him feel good.
Point.
But Paul Brady, I think, you know, he's not trying to shut up the crowd. He almost feels guilty if he doesn't do all the things that he's known for. So I don't know if he's cruising or just, you know, just playing his game or whatever it is. You know, and if you talk to Paul about it, he tries to minimize those things. You really don't know, you know, what goes through his head because he won't tell you. Very humble in that sense.
That's really the favorite shot if you're a handball player. That ball that hits the sidewall, front wall, bounce, and sidewall again, just sits on a tee.
4 plays 3.
Hit it as hard as you can and low as you can.
The scoring line is very similar to the first game. Paul Brady at 5-3.
I could see Danny Cordova being the type of player that would actually play better against the top players. His game would go up as his level of competition went up. Very strange error there for Paul.
You're talking about players that, you know, a certain player that's defeated 2 brothers in one tournament.
3 plays 5.
How about being a player that was defeated? That was short. How about 2 players that were defeated by 2 brothers? Abraham Montijo.
I called it good.
That ball was short.
Both disagree.
And Dave, Abraham Montillo was defeated by Luis Cordova this morning in a
Right.
playoff match, but also defeated by Danny Cordova.
Oh,
so that's
no.
the opposite of that.
5.
So Abraham goes 0-2 in this tournament. Both losses against Cordova's.
And it looks like Brady's going to go 2-0
Yeah.
against Cordova's if he continues on here.
3 plays 5. Short ball. Second serve.
That's broken. Well, you know, with Paul on the court, I'm surprised this doesn't happen 3 or 4 times.
You guys, we already went through our 2 balls. I gotta grab a ball from down there.
Dave, why do the players throw the broken ball up to the ref? I mean, isn't it easier to just throw it in the garbage outside the court?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I'm not, I don't want to make this about
instead
me.
of throwing the ball 4 times to try to get that little space at the referee, because there's a netting up in the top. You can't.
Yeah, it's like being behind home plate in baseball.
You have to actually throw the ball through this little. Maybe they feel like they want to go to a carnival. I mean, it's about the same odds.
But
being able to throw the ball through that.
You're adding a lot of extra steps by throwing it up there to the ref, because now if he does happen to catch it, now the ref has to deal with this ball and then throw it away, when you could easily just open up that door and throw it away and not go through that whole rigmarole.
I think you play like this too. A lot of players just don't want to go back outside and engage any crowd. Although I know what you're saying, you can just open that door and just reach your hand around the corner and throw it in the garbage can.
All right, guys, play resumes. Over ball 3, plays 5.
And with the price of what these autographed handballs are going through, on for
Check the ball, please.
eBay, I would just put it in my pocket if I was a player.
Well, actually, that's against our code of conduct.
I know, but
I mean, it's worth it.
No one's ever following these rules anyway.
I have to say, Dave, I've never been more impressed by our referee, Memo Pilaris, who's never refereed for us before. He was handed the referee guidelines and followed them to the T.
4 plays 5.
Doing good. And as bad as the refereeing was in Tucson, Arizona at our last stop, it's been better
Bad
the
bounce.
opposite way here.
Danny, I got to take his word for it. I didn't see the bad bounce, but he called the bad bounce, so we're going to do it over.
No.
That's not how it works.
That's not the rule.
Well, as soon as I said, that's the announcer's
5.
curse.
Bad bounce over ball.
I mean, that's explicitly written in the rules
4
and on
plays
emails.
5.
Nope.
That sounds like a strange ball, David. You know I'm not one to talk about the ball. This ball just, it sounds completely dead. Look at how slow that is.
No, when Paul hits it, it's not.
It's still, though, moving extremely slow.
5 plays 4.
Let's see if Paul comes up about 8 inches short on this serve. Okay.
Overhit it.
Not a good shot there from Paul.
That was a terrible shot from Paul, and Danny's going to put it away, but he doesn't, and Paul has a strange hand error there. Cordova has a fairly good, if not top quality, wrinkle on his serve. That's a reverse.
You know, Dave, Paul does not look that sharp right now. Maybe he's still adjusting to the courts. Didn't get here until Tuesday from Ireland. That's about a 9,000-mile trip, I would say. I know that you've got that Googled, locked in and everything, but
5 plays 4.
doesn't look all that comfortable right now, and
Short ball.
he's going to have to play better than this to win the tournament. Now, he's always found a way to do exactly that.
Second serve. Point. 6 plays 4.
You know, Dave, if you've never seen Paul Brady hit a handball live, it's almost like seeing Tiger Woods hit a driver live circa 2000.
7 plays 4.
I mean, there's just something different about it. If you put the radar gun on it, it might only be 3 or 4 miles per hour faster than Luis Moreno.
Your first.
But there's something about it. There's a zip to it, and there's a sound.
Is it a heavy ball? I mean, is it because of rotation that he puts on it?
I don't know what it is, but there is something significantly different about Paul Brady's ball and shot.
You're watching the Watch ESPN app with ESPN and the World Players of Handball round of 8 action. Game number 2, Danny Cordova and Paul Brady. It was Paul taking game number 1, 15-5, and now finds himself up 8-4 as we enter the 30-minute mark of this match, which is rare for a Paul Brady match, even if he's playing the 21-point format. Earlier today, it was Armando Ortiz winning game number 1 against Sean Lenning and looking like he was going to go on to win this tournament in that first game. Just by looking at his body language, he was up and won that one 15-6. But then Sean Lenning came back and outscored Armando Ortiz 30-2 to win game number 2, 15-2, and then 15-0, which was stunning. And earlier it was Moreno getting past Dave Fink in 2. So that puts Sean Lenning versus Luis Moreno.
We just saw that about 9 days ago, Dave, in the No Frills final. I know that you gave the No Frills no respect, but yet here we have 2 of the 4 players in the semifinals.
Well, I kind of envisioned that after the blind draw, seeing how it stacked up, I felt like I was just going to see it a week later and as a matchup, and I felt like I didn't need to see it again. It's part of the luxury of being spoiled, I guess. But I've had a lot of people ask me why I didn't attend that tournament when it was just a few minutes down the street.
And by a lot, you mean?
A lot more than normal. 2? More than 2. Nice left-handed kill shot for Paul Brady. It was like when Bill Clinton was being inaugurated into the White House. He approached Billy Joel and said, "You want to come to the White House and jam?" You know, as part of the celebration. And someone said to Billy, "Why did you say no?" And he said, "I didn't think it was going to be a good jam." I mean, fair enough.
I guess.
Well, I didn't go down there because I didn't think it was going to be a good jam, but apparently it was.
Well, it would have been a pretty big effort for you when I pulled right up to your house and could have driven you there in 10 minutes. Yeah.
He said, "Are you coming?" Nah, I'm not going. I'll read about it. I knew I'd see it here, and I'm patting myself on the back for that. Boy, that's a nice little corner kill from Cordova there.
4 plays 10. You feel? I called it good. 1 agrees. 1 disagrees. I'm going to call side out. I saw good. 10 plays 4.
That ball just over the line.
I thought that was a screen.
Well, I did too, but the ball was over the line. Now 11-4. No complaining from Cordova. But again, like you said, he just doesn't complain anyway.
Something about this facility this week, Dave. We just haven't seen much complaining on this court.
No, you handled yourself the best we've ever seen.
12 plays 4.
And when you were upset, it was actually probably a reason to be upset.
Is that a compliment?
Well,
it's kind of backhanded.
I don't think it was a compliment. I don't think it was backhanded. It was actually a slight. It was a slight. I was slighting you in my own way. 13-4. No, I mean it's been really good. But then again, Pichot versus Chavez is coming up next. I mean Chavez. Sorry. I know I get corrected, so I might as well.
Love that shot from Paul Brady. He's the only guy I see on our tour that hits that shot when it comes around the revolving door. He catches it with the Irish whip before it meets the third wall. You might see that shot more in Ireland if you were going to watch Robbie McCarthy and maybe Dermot Nash. But here it's Paul Brady, Dave, doing what he does, moving on to the semifinals. Paul Brady has won 6 of the 7 race events he's entered. He's 24-1 lifetime in the race. He's gunning for his 7th title, which would put him 2 behind Luis Moreno. Now, of course, Luis Moreno could win this and extend his lead, but Paul Brady is on to play this evening, Dave.
Now, I've received a couple text messages from people back home watching saying there's a lot of young people in the crowd. What's going on there in Houston? Are they fostering growth? And really the answer is there's a lot of Texas collegiate and Florida collegiate players here, but the state of Texas itself has tons of handball collegiate participants. You know, the collegiate handball tournament is in Portland, Oregon in next month, and I guess almost a third of the participants are coming from this wonderful state of Texas. But yeah, they have a collegiate group that's out here, both coming from Florida. In fact, a lot of neighboring colleges that play handball are here to watch guys like Paul Brady and Danny Cordova. E Ft and Marcos Chavez will be coming up next. We want you to stay close for that. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a bit. We want you to stick around here on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app, as we'll have another match in the round of 8 right around the corner, as we'll try to finalize that semifinals. Now, earlier, of course, it was Moreno over Dave Fink in 2. That means Moreno is going to go to the semifinals. It looked like he was going to play Mondo Ortiz in the upper bracket semifinal, but Sean Linning turned on the afterburners and completely destroyed Mondo. So it's going to be Moreno versus Linning in that lower bracket, and then Paul Brady is going to face the winner of Marcos and E Ft in the upper bracket semifinal. Now in the seniors, since we're running down the scores, a lot of people don't know what happened there. Marcos Chavez played earlier today against Brian Holmes. He defeated him. Tyler Hamill completely destroyed Chris Watkins 25-2. That means that there's going to be a rematch from last year's final here.
Match of the year candidate, as a matter of fact.
So that's going to be in a semifinal match at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So Marcos Chavez is going to play this 1 o'clock match against E Ft and then immediately go into the court again and play Tyler Hamill back-to-back.
Well, Marcos likes that.
That's just the risk that the players that are playing two ways get themselves into. Nadia Alvarado has that 3 o'clock match with Andy Shadd. It would have been better for the tournament organizers to recognize that and flip that 3 over to 2, but that's just, what happened. So Andy Shadd defeated Bear Myring 25-17, and Nadia Alvarado got past journeyman Dan Armijo.
Yeah, that was a payback match for Andy Shadd, who lost to Bear in Denver last spring. Lost a couple of close matches, Andy Shadd did, over the last few events. And I saw him last night. He said, I'm really hoping to turn that around. So a good start for him today as he gets back into his winning ways. But he's got a tall order facing a guy who's in the top 4 right now on the Race for 8 tour, electing to play senior Race for 8 in this stop.
We'll have more handball action coming up around the corner on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. Thank you for tuning in. For Dave Fink and those helping out with the live broadcast, to include Bruno, as well as Linda Manning and Jeff Kastner. Dave Fink here. My name is Dave Vincent. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in about 20 minutes or so with that last quarterfinal match here on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app.